I didn't have any structure. I was just doing whatever, just doing whatever I wanted.
We can protect them from a lot of bad decisions that they may make if they were not under that same protection. Like, which families are dysfunctional because the house is not in order, because there is not father, mother, children.
All right, guys, I'll tell you what, I am excited this evening. Kelly and I met Dexter and his bride back in January timeframe. Was it January in Houston or February? In January. So January in Houston. January. And I was across the room when you came walking in. I knew you were coming, but I didn't know anything about you at all. And this tall drink of water walks in the room wearing brand new cowboy boots. And I said, man, I got to go get
forgot about that.
Yeah, brand new cowboy boots. But we have gotten to know each other over the last, I guess, probably 4 or 5 months, fast friends. And I have just loved watching your growth and hearing parts of your story. And so the purpose this evening for the call, I really want to hear y'all's story in detail. We want to ask questions and just kind of get the lowdown on your journey into Torah, your journey into headship and patriarchy, how you learn, how y'all met, because these are newlyweds too, aren't they? They're newlyweds. So pretty exciting there. That's good stuff, right? So yes, I'm going to turn the floor over to y'all. Introduce yourselves, give us the whole rundown, and we'll poke you with questions periodically. This is going to be fun.
All right. I'm Brother Dexter from Florida, born and raised in Tampa. Been living in Jacksonville a couple of years. Before that, was living in Tallahassee. That's the short version.
And I am Sister Cheyanne. I am from Detroit, Michigan, and I've been in Florida now for about 2.5 years. Yeah.
And in her childhood, she was kind of back and forth between Florida and Michigan.
Yes.
So I guess, do you want me to go right into how we met?
Man, you just you could do that, or now your Torah journey had begun a little bit before that.
Yes.
Let's do this. Give me your background first. You and I was really interested. I guess Florida State grad, a double major, if I recall, an English lit scholar, if I recall.
Oh my goodness!
Help me out, man. Come on. You surprised me. You started rolling off some stuff, and I was like, "Man, I misjudged this guy. This guy's awesome." Not that you wouldn't be otherwise, but it's just like, wow. I was blown away.
So yeah, I graduated from Florida State 2009. 1 degree in English literature, bachelor's, and another one in family and child sciences. So my the way I came to Torah, it started with Shabbat, and then kind of basically learning more about my heritage, and it was little by little. It was kind of, y'all would show me something. I think the biggest like transition or catalyst or whatever you want to call it is I saw a YouTube documentary over 2 hours long by, well, it was called The Bible versus Christianity. And I think it was by like Israelite Heritage Foundation or something like that, but the way they spelled it was a little different. And I tried to find that recently, like just to go back and maybe watch part of it again. As far as I could tell, it's not on their channel anymore. So, but anyway, the reason why I had already kind of started looking into, who I am and trying to find out more about the Shabbat and about keeping the law, because it was like the door. It was the door to knowing, hey, we're supposed to be keeping these laws because it was never done away with. And I had learned a lot of stuff and seen stuff from different, people on YouTube, primarily some blogs. I had read and watched a lot of videos about those who call themselves Nazarene. There's a whole like huge like movement in that direction, and I learned a lot from them. This guy Lou White, I learned a lot from his channel and a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, he's Fossilized Customs, maybe.
Fossilized Customs,
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, when I saw that documentary, I had, like I said, I had been picking up little bits and pieces and just trying to figure it out so I know what I'm supposed to do. And when I saw that documentary, basically what they did was they would go, they didn't have a confrontational style like some of the camps do, where they just like yelling people down and stuff like that. It was just a few of them, and they would go out with their Bibles after either before or after a Christian service, church service, and then they would just kind of like engage them in conversation, and then ask them like biblical questions. And the pattern that kept happening was like, especially when they was talking about Shabbat, especially when they was talking about pork, it was like over and over again. I was like, that got to be a spirit. And this is like early on, even learning about spirits, but over and over again, when they got proven with the Bible right in their hands, when the Christians got proven that something that they believe to be true is not true, according to the Bible, and that the standard is different than what they had in their mind, their response was, oh, well, God knows my heart. Like over and over again, it was like, God knows my heart. And, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, especially like Shabbat, it's okay for it to be Sunday or any day you choose or whatever. And they could just read them a verse or more than one verse if they want to see it. And they just kept repeating the same type of things that was like, it was an excuse and a sidestep. And I was shocked to see like there's much that we don't know, haven't been told, convinced to believe, didn't check it for ourselves. And then when you get your eyes open, it's like, and then to see people consistently just reject the truth when they did get their eyes open, I was like, yo, at that point, I stopped calling myself a Christian. I was like, I can't call myself a Christian because it doesn't seem to be consistent with what I'm being showed about what's actually the truth. So from that point, it was just trying to, I guess, learn. It's been a long journey. That was about 2016-ish, and just trying to claw my way through learning and figuring it out, and working. I struggle with being obedient, and so it's been quite a the ride. So, but yeah, that was my entryway point into it, Shabbat and that documentary, and then just studying and reading from there, and then watching. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours of YouTube videos, documentaries, and all this that I've watched.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess I'll pass it over to Sister Cheyanne.
That was a lot. I actually came into it just learning about Shabbat and keeping Torah from him, my husband. He I know a little bit about it, and I know a little bit about like polygyny, just a tiny bit. Like I had heard the word, but I wasn't fully grasping the concept yet. But when I met Dexter, he worked with me, and he opened me up, and he didn't make me start covering my head, but he let me grow into it on my own. And he basically has been guiding me this whole way and leading me. So.
Fantastic. So let's see. So Dexter, where we actually met was at a Biblical Families Retreat.
Yes, sir.
That's where we met you and Shy. And so some things happened. Give me a little bit more of your background between when you're making this transition, 2016, like 2019 or 20, something like that, until your full Torah, or when did you start seeing and understanding biblical marriage?
Okay, so
or maybe we can talk about headship first, because I know that certainly we've had some conversations in terms of the process, and maybe something that we can talk about and the ladies can talk about as well, is this journey from Western secularism into a much more Hebraic Israelite mindset and understanding of headship and this sort of thing.
Okay. So I guess the first part, um I would say it took a year or more to like kind of, I guess, grasp um keeping Torah. Like uh like I said, it started with Shabbat, and then, learning as I go. And then in the very beginning, I read I was just reading a lot. Like I was reading uh different authors. Like I read some Jewish authors, and I had bought a book on like the feast days, and so it was just like Sabbath, feast days, dietary law. I'm not sure exactly in what order, but within, I would say, a few years, probably like 2019-ish was when it was kind of like, okay, I need to be making a greater effort to keep the Torah
Hmm.
in full. And it's a lifetime. It's lifetime learning, reading it over and over again,
Yes.
and have Yah reveal. But I I say it became more like stabilized as far as like keeping it, and like kind of feeling like I'm going, knowing what I'm doing a little bit. 2019, 2020. As far as headship, uh, headship, I I got a lot from Pastor Dow. Absolutely, because I started listening to Pastor Dow probably 2017-ish. Um, and I'll just listen to random videos. Like it was a couple years before I actually started listening to Shabbat service, but I would listen to some random videos, and I think the first one was probably about silver. It was like silver and the political
Interesting.
stuff. Yeah, like, and I heard he mixes it in because he's a fisherman, so he mixes it in and you hear it. But I guess I wasn't paying as much full attention until the end of 2018, going into 2019. I really started paying more attention. Once I started listening to Shabbat service, and that kind of it changed more. But a lot of his videos that I listened to, the short ones, like the little 10-minute videos, where he was talking about, I would say like 2019, 2019, pretty solid, where it was, I understood that I was not operating as a man in a biblical sense.
Okay. Good.
And just kind of failing my way through trying to become a man.
Hmm.
And so there's still a lot for me to learn and experience, but from 2019 on, that's when it became like a major focus of what biblical headship is, what it looked like, how you're supposed to lead, submission, the roles in the family. All of that is when that really started rolling.
Right. Wow. And I mean, I think that's the experience of many, many men, myself included, when I started understanding biblical headship. And really, for me, I started understanding biblical marriage first, and then recognized that that's actually only a subset of proper headship.
Yeah.
Or you could say a biblical marriage is with the man leading headship, and in a patriarchal sense, that sort of thing, and then understanding polygyny. But polygyny for me came first. I'd already been in Torah for a while, and then I started recognizing, well, polygyny doesn't work if you don't have proper biblical headship.
Yes. And that was kind of, I learned kind of the same way. It was like a lead in, because I purposely avoided polygyny, like when I first came into the faith, like 2016-ish, because I would see a couple videos pop up, some from Pastor, videos from Hondo, a lot of other people, and I avoided it till for like 2 years, because I was like, I said, I'm sure this is important, but I cannot. I feel like it would sidetrack me if I tried to learn about it at that time, because I could clearly tell that there was like strongly opposing views, even in the Israelite community. There's the totally against and the totally for, and I was like, I just felt like I didn't have the capacity to even try to learn it at that time. After a couple years, feeling a little bit more like I understood Yah or understood the word in Torah, then I started learning it, and it was Pastor Dow, Hondo Solomon, over and over again. I apologize. I did not realize that my ringer was on. But I watched every video I could find, I'm pretty sure, on Hondo Solomon. I had a whole playlist of Hondo Solomon videos. I bought his book, read that. I read a lot of articles on polygyny. But yeah, just like you said, if you explore polygyny, it's pretty clear that it's a disaster if there is no proper headship and your house is not in order and family structure and everything else. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It definitely exposes those things.
Yes,
So Cheyanne, how did you and Dexter meet? We need the details.
Okay, so one day my toilet broke.
Oh, okay. Well, we know exactly where this story's going.
And I did not use my toilet. I had two bathrooms, so I just used the other bathroom for a while. But one day I was like, I'm gonna get this toilet fixed today. So I called up the company that he works for, and there was this other guy who was supposed to come out at first, but I think when he arrived, I wasn't home. I was at the store or something, so I missed him. And then they sent him out next. So he was the next guy to come, and he fixed my toilet. Praise Yah. Um, but he definitely shot his shot. And he said, what was it that you said? I think he said, oh, do you have a man? And I said, I totally tried to friend zone him. So he said, do you have a man? And I said, no, but I just got out of a relationship or something like that, and I'm not looking for friends. And then he said, I wouldn't ask you if you had a man if I wanted to be your friend. And then he gave me his number and he told me to call him. He would not take my number. He gave me his number. And I think like 4 days later, I called him on the phone and we started talking about Jesus and the Lord in the Bible. And it was one of the most interesting, intriguing conversations I ever had in my life. I was totally sucked in and I was like, I think I like this guy. And then we've been like inseparable ever since.
The series of events that allowed this to happen is very improbable because first of all, she when her toilet stopped, she had a 2-bedroom. When her toilet stopped working, she just used the other bathroom. Her maintenance, the maintenance in the front office were very slow to do anything. And they actually came and tried to fix it. And they actually did the same thing that I did to fix it, but they didn't fit. They was unsuccessful. So then they pretty much were like, well, I don't know what they told her, but they allowed her to just have a non-working toilet for months and months and months and months. And then when she finally called the company I work for, and me and the guy that originally was going to come out, like we joke about it all the time. He said, "You stole my wife." And he's
never
an
going to
older
miss
guy.
another call.
He was an older guy, and it was funny because he showed up earlier in the day, not too much earlier. It was only a few hours because I saw on our job history that it was a 0, meaning somebody didn't make money same day. So now I'm calling him to find out what happened to see if it's like if I could get. Like, I actually wanted them to take the call off me because I didn't want to take a no revenue on it because it was like there are sometimes people that don't really want to pay and it is what it is. So I was like, you just went. What's the issue? He said, well, she wasn't there. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, well, I'll go. I didn't really want to go because I thought it was going to be another. There are some people who you can't catch them for some reason. They call, you just cannot catch them. But I went and I met her, and
I was nice. Apparently,
she
I
was
was
very
nice.
nice. She was real upbeat, very kind, and I was like, I like her. You know what? I'm gonna say something. And yeah, I said, in my mind, if she wasn't interested, she would have never called. I've learned in the past, for the most part, I don't really get women's phone numbers because I just don't. But I know it's like a different level of being able to take a woman seriously if she take the initiative to call you. Like she has to take initiative, and then I'm like, okay, then we'll see what happens. And so, yeah, it worked out pretty wonderful. I'm glad. I'm glad I had a job I have. I'm glad that I happened to run into her. I'm glad that things, worked out the way they did.
And
Praise
so
y'all.
actually also he immediately told me that he was polygynous. And
Oh yeah.
that went over my head. I heard everything else except that part. So
It's here the father puts you together and then he sticks his fingers in your ear so you can't hear the thing that might blow it up too soon.
and I knew by her response, like with everything that was said before I left, I I knew, I was like, there's no way she actually processed what I said. I said it, but she didn't process it. So when she called me, I brought it up. And then like, she started asking questions. We talked about it for the next few days, but I'm tried my best to get her to like understand what I was saying so that there would be no miscommunication, because I didn't want to waste her time if that's not something that she felt like, she could live with and be okay with. So yeah,
And this
it
is
was
this is a really important point. We have a baby raccoon. Is a rescue, and that's the squeak in the background. It's got a toy, and I guess my voice here scared it, and it just bolted to the other end of the
oh my gosh.
other end of the run. I'm sorry about that. But this is something I think that's very important to take note of. You were very upfront right from the beginning. There's no hiding, there's no trying to use subversion.
Right.
And that speaks well of your character, and it speaks well of your commitment and understanding to of the truth. Where a lot of men, typically your beta males, are going to be afraid of this piece of truth, or they'll try to hide it or try to slide it in there real careful because they don't want to upset anybody, instead of just being real upfront. This is what the word says. This is what I believe. This is what I believe the Father says, I can do. And so I commend you for that. I had not heard that part of your story from the beginning. So that's exciting. That's good stuff right there.
Bless you. I think it's a having the benefit of knowing about it going in. I think it would be it would be really unwise not to say anything, because I can't see myself trying to develop a connection with a woman and grow it into a relationship, and then like, I guess like, try to lure her in and then tell her after the fact when she already is bonded with me. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
So
that speaks to your trustworthiness. Oh, what else are you hiding if you're hiding this, right?
Mhm.
Instead of just being open and honest.
yeah, and then it's women will, they can make a quick decision, like, and so it's, your respect for your time and respect for my time. Um, and yeah, as you know, most most women is going to be a hard pass from the very beginning, but that's okay. I don't have to waste time. So yeah, like, gotta be upfront. That's like, I mean, I mentioned it with if I say that I'm interested, the very next thing I say usually is, you should know that I'm polygynous, and then I try to explain what that means if they don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now, Cheyanne, you said that initial conversation, talking about the Messiah, talking about things that he was learning, and it lured you in. That was really interesting. Now, my understanding is you were coming from what we would consider at this point a pretty worldly position.
So I was yes, I would say I was worldly, but I was also identified as a Christian.
Okay.
And I had like terrible experiences in the church, which just made me fall on my knees and pray to the Lord. Um, and we talked a little bit about that. And he was telling me like about Pastor Dowell, and I was telling him that I've heard about Israelites before and about the Bible and the Torah, but I heard it through a different sector. I heard it through
the camps,
the Hebrew Israelite camps.
No, I call them RBIs, the racist Black Israelites, the ones that shut out the kingdom to the Gentiles. Yeah. That was her first experience years before we met. And what I gathered was that she learned about that. And although there's some truth to what they're saying, the lies put her off. And she said, there's something not right about this. So she put it to the side and moved on with her life. Yeah. And just,
and started falling, just falling.
And but I would say, based off the standard and the truth, the real true Messiah, the real true word and Torah, she was in the world just like I was, like prior to understanding the truth. But I guess she could be considered, a Christian by any run-of-the-mill Christian, just not actively attending the church because of her bad experiences in church. But I mean, one of the things I noticed early on that she listens to a lot of praise and worship music. She liked to create an environment of worship, especially when she's going through it. Like, right. I mean, I see her, and so that was something positive that I could identify with to build on. And what she's always told me, she was like, I follow you and I love you because you love the Lord. I love the Lord. Like she would tell me, she said, I love the Lord. That's why I'm drawn to you. So, yeah, I thought I was going to say something after that. But
I had never met a man who loved the Lord so much. Like, it was honestly a blessing because, like, I prayed to God for someone like him. But when he came and he mentioned polygyny, I was like, oh no. At first, I was like, I don't know. But then I was like, the Lord doesn't make mistakes. He never makes mistakes. So I need to jump on this train. I need to figure out this is what there is for me.
Very, very flawed man. I have to admit to being a very flawed man.
Yeah, and honestly, we all are. The truth is, we come from a background, if Kelly told you the truth about some of Pete's struggles, yep, another flawed man. But the truth is, the Father's about redeeming, and Hallelujah. He's about Hallelujah. Taking our brokenness and turning it into something that He can use. And I don't think, I had a conversation with somebody just the other day, and they were talking about all of their brokenness and whether or not it would be useful to others. And yet my assurance to them was, if the Father walked you through this, it's simple. The Father's using it and will continue to use it. That's His intent. His plan is to use this. So yeah, the brokenness is part of the journey.
Hallelujah.
Cheyanne, tell us a little bit about the emotional process that you went through in going from being Christian, coming from a fairly matriarchal background, to where you are today as a woman of Yah, a submitted Isha who is, I'm rhyming now. I'm gonna get, now Dex does some recording too. I'm gonna get Dex to make me some music here. I've got to need a new intro for my my channel, right? But tell us a little bit about your journey there, Cheyanne, and the emotional process as you worked through things, because I know that a lot of ladies can benefit from hearing the stories of other women who go through this great challenge. It's a transition.
Oh my gosh, this is a great question. Okay, so it was so hard. First, just moving from being a Christian into really being, and not identifying with Christianity, but just identifying with the love of the Bible, with following God's laws. That pissed so many people off. Like my family, my friends, they hated my guts.
Immediately.
Yes.
It's crazy. So, yes.
Yeah, I was shocked about that. And then I was like, these people say that they love the Lord. Why are they treating me this way? I
Mm.
mean, I'm just trying to follow the Bible. So it took a lot. Like I went through so much stuff internally, just trying to cope with how everyone was just trying to distance themselves from me or just trying to change my opinion. Um, Most of those women and people were single women who weren't married. So I did a lot. It took a lot for me to realize that and to know like I can't take advice from women who are not where I'm at this point in my life.
There's some gold.
Yes. And then not only that, when I started wrapping my hair, my family, they just like they laughed at me, they berated me, they just did not understand why I'm doing this. And if I say, well, it's in the Bible, this is I feel protected this way. I just got so many terrible reactions that actually pushed me away from my own family. I feel like people's like true selves started manifesting, like who they really are. Um,
It didn't matter what she did before. She was trying to, first of all, wanting to truly follow a man and be submitted, to have a husband and be submitted to him. That pissed everybody off. They was constantly and still occasionally trying to come up with some reason why she shouldn't submit. And then covering her head, like she said before. I told her outright. It's a lot of stuff I told in the very beginning, like as far as like my expectations and standards. And but I also told her that um I'm realistic and understanding. So I'm not gonna be constantly putting pressure on you. Do this, do this, do it like this, do it like that. I am gonna like correct and give input and all that when need be. But as far as like something I know that's gonna be a long-term lifestyle decision for her to cover her head, I told her what it is, why it is, where it is in the Bible, the meaning, the purpose, why that's what I prefer as a man. And then I just kind of let her grow into it. The starting point was her covering her head on Shabbat. And from there, like the reason why she does it all the time now is because she it became a part of her. She made the effort. She learned styles that she liked. She started getting different colors and doing combinations. As you can see, the dual combination right here that she got on. Once it got to that where she's able to incorporate it into her personal style, it fits her personality. Then it's just now she don't want to be outside with her head uncovered. Like it feels different now, and that's why I think it's like super important that you be realistic, give your standards and expectations, give time to allow somebody to grow. Because if you force something, like if I would have told her, you know week 1, week 2, month 2, all right, this is the day that every single day you're gonna cover your head, like as she goes through that, she may still have grown into it, but the whole time she going into it is resentment,
Right.
and then we got to battle a whole nother issue. So I did it that way because I understand how it's going to play out, because once she is fully into it, she's developed to that point, and it doesn't take. I don't have to tell her to do it. She's doing it. The world mindset that you never know. You never know that the world is in matriarchy and feminism truly, because they sell it to you that they sell to you that the patriarchy is dominating everything and everybody. Like the patriarchy is oppressing the women. They sell it so hard, but so you don't realize you coming from a mindset of matriarchy and feminism. But anyway, leading up to whatever you
Yeah.
want to say about
Yeah. But
trying
who,
to
who
change
did
your
she
mind.
call to get a plumber to come fix her commode? Right. She called a man.
yes.
Yeah.
That oppressive patriarchy needs to come help me out.
Yeah, so really submitting to him, I think was one of the best things that I could have ever done in my life. The reason why I say that is because I didn't have any structure. I was just doing whatever just doing whatever I wanted. And and I guess it normally comes from being independent. I've been independent pretty much my whole entire life, my whole entire adult years. And so I didn't have to answer to anybody or explain myself. I think submitting to him saved me. And that also pissed off a lot of people. Because they're like, you've been doing this, you pay your own bills, you don't need a man to do this, and you don't need a man to do that. But I needed structure because I feel like once I have structure, I have peace. And before that, inside, I just felt discombobulated, like everywhere, like I did not have peace. So that is that on submission. And it's one of the best things I think that happened to me in 2022.
Now you said it was one of the best things. It wasn't the easiest though. Talk a little bit about some of the challenges.
Oh my goodness, the challenges. So I've always been a firecracker. I had to sit down. I had to sit down and shut up. That was so hard for me to do. That it's so hard for me to be quiet and like not have the last word and just take it in and just listen to what he has to say. That was really hard.
The tendency to argue or be right or pop off at the mouth, like get into feelings about something and then just pop off at the mouth.
I'm emotional and he's logical, and I have to put my emotions to the side and think logically, which is so hard. I still struggle with this, but
go ahead.
I'm better. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was going to say that the emotions are good, but they must be subject to logic and truth. If we were emotionless, there would be that, men are emotional too, but we're wired differently. The emotions are generally subordinate too. I think it's Shapiro that says facts don't care about your feelings. And so we really have to live with the logic as the primary, and then the emotion underneath. Sometimes you have to control that and say, well, it doesn't matter what the emotions say. Got to walk in the facts. Got to walk in the logic. Yes, go ahead.
And so I think with the structure, like as far as structure goes and headship, one of the things that she will struggle with sometimes is men and women. There is no quote unquote equality. There are double standards. Elder Kabir just put out talking about double standards, and I was listening to that. But there's definitely
I like his stuff too.
Yeah, there's definitely double standards. And that so that she'll get mad and then question me about a double standard, and I'm like, well, the easiest answer, which I think takes wisdom to demonstrate, but a woman is not a man. A woman shall not go out as a man does. A woman don't have the same freedom as a man, and it's not. The reason for it is because the man has to take responsibility for the woman, has to protect the woman, has to provide for the woman, pour into the woman. So if she is constantly existing outside of the structure and the guidelines and the boundaries that you create, number one, she's not operating under your authority the way she's supposed to. And when she's doing that, she's also escaping or evading your protection. She's stepping outside of it. And then it's like, it's an ongoing thing for this with us, and also referencing it back to how we are with Yah. Disobedience does not afford you the protection. So internalizing that and getting used to that and being content with that is Yah calls the order like it is, and it's because he loves you that is that way, because he knows how we function or how we're supposed to function as men of Yah, and therefore we can protect them from a lot of bad decisions that they may make if they were not under that same protection. Like she said, she didn't have the structure. She just went and did whatever and however and all this. And it it could bring about spiritual warfare and bad consequences,
Mm-hmm.
not even knowing what you're sowing and reaping something negative. And I use one example as far as like how she dressed. She's covered. I want her to be covered. And she knew. I told her that from the beginning. And now the way people respond to her in public is different. And also, she can recall how people would respond to her in the past and prefer now being treated a certain way because she is covered. It's just totally different. So that's not a decision that she would have chosen to make on her own. But that's something that I wanted, and now she sees the benefit of it because she's living and noticing.
So
So,
let me shift gears here a little bit. A different line of questions. Now, Dexter, you said one of your majors in college was family child
Family,
counseling,
family and child sciences.
family and child sciences.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what, certainly you learned a lot in academia with regards to their perspectives on things, but tell me how your perspectives have changed, or what are some of the things that really you've learned and have been driven home with regards to headship and patriarchy, and specifically with polygyny and how that affects a family and particularly children.
All right. So I guess from an academic standpoint, back then I was liberal. I wouldn't necessarily have called myself a Democrat at the time, but I had very liberal ideologies. But as far as just learning about family and dynamics and all that, what I wanted to get out of it was understanding how what's the word for it? Understanding how a functional family functions, and then understanding dysfunctional dynamics, and then how to correct dysfunctional dynamics, like what can be done. And there was a lot of focus on communication. There really was, I'll say, a major difference. There was, like, as far as I can remember, there's no focus whatsoever on roles. It's just like two people. If you have a family, father, mother, children, it's just two parents. Like they don't address the fact that this is what a man should be doing as the head and the father, et cetera, and what a woman should be doing. Now, I do believe they went into, some of the statistics probably about poverty and things like that, and then single parent households, households with two income earners versus just one income earner, but they didn't actually discuss the dynamic with, let's say, the father is the income earner and the mother is staying at home, and they didn't really go into why that is and how that's beneficial to the family. They just more so kind of focus on the fact that, in order for this to happen, the man has to make enough money so that the family isn't in poverty. Otherwise, that woman needs to work. And that's something that they would kind of say that in this modern society, in most cases, both parents have to work, because otherwise they're not going to make enough money to support a family with children, et cetera, et cetera.
So they approach it from a presupposition that requires two family incomes, requires high standard of living, and the presupposition that probably doesn't even bother looking at statistics. For example, fatherless children versus motherless children and the difference in outcome, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't ever remember that being a thing. I don't ever remember seeing something like that. And it would have actually been very valuable to understanding how a family is supposed to be functional. But like, I guess the other part of it, one, I wanted to, because everybody, one of the things that I learned, and I think it can be very true, everybody comes from a family that has all types of problems, whether it's in your neutral, or is that the word? Nuclear, whether it's in your nuclear family or not. When you consider your extended family, there is dysfunction all over the place. And so everybody has that and has been up close and personal with it. And so they were going through a lot of different, like, counseling, therapy, and all these different things, how to mediate and stuff like that. And that's something that I wanted to learn. I wanted to my original thing that I was going to do, if I would have continued and got my master's, etc. I was considering marriage and family therapy, because one of the things that they drill home, and I think is extremely correct, and in academia, at least it was at the time. I don't know what they're on right now, but communication. It's like the one of the biggest downfalls in a marriage and in a family. Poor communication. Either the people never learn proper communication skills when you're dealing with the person you married with, or the father and mother don't really know how to actually deal with and communicate with the children. And then they did deal with like discipline. They talked about corporal discipline. Of course, they didn't believe in that, but there was a range or a spectrum of strict versus, what was the word they used? I would say liberal, but they use another word, where there is a balance. If you are too strict, it's going to mess your family up and your children up. And if you were too lenient, the word they use, you too lenient, it also mess it up. So properly in order, they actually lean towards the strict side, which was good. I thought that it was very interesting, because I learned things that I didn't think about like that, or rationalize, or just come to a conscious understanding of. But there's a lot of things that they taught me that I agree with. The differences, though, that obviously there's no Yah involved. And there's also, they do not outline the roles in a proper fashion. The main thing, there is no headship. There's two parents, and they basically just equal parents. There is no father, mother, children. It's just parents, children. They never outline that appropriately and deal with it, obviously, because they can't. I'm very thankful that we had an opportunity to meet in fellowship, and then continue continue our friendship and our brotherhood. And the timing is wild, because I found your channel because of Pastor Dow. So I subscribed to your channel when he recommended you. I subscribed, and I started watching your videos, and it was like right when I started doing that you were talking about the biblical families retreat, and it was like probably within 2 weeks from the time when I found out about it, and I was like, honey, we're gonna go. But I told her, I said, I want you to go, but if you're not ready to go, I understand, but I'm going. I'd love for you to come with me. And she decided to come with me, and it was a blessing. We got to hear people's stories, and really, like, it's filled a gap in my life, having brothers to communicate with, and so I thank y'all that everything happened when it did.
So talk to me for a minute, Cheyanne, particularly your first trip to biblical families. Now, y'all had been talking about polygyny. I don't know if you'd really come face to face with any families at that point that were polygynous, or had you, or was that your first exposure to some families that were functioning and doing really well? And I mean, talk to me about that. I want to get your perspective on that.
Yes, that was actually my very first time seeing a couple of great polygynous families. And I was actually amazed. I did not think that anything could work. I actually kind of thought it was a myth. I know it's real, but I'm like, I couldn't actually believe it until I saw it. And I was very pleased. I think a few months later I told him, I was like, I think I'm fully open to to us having a sister wife. Pretty much because, like, I don't have friends at all. And so I'm like, if you can have a sister, if you can, get another wife, and she could be my best friend, and we can both cook you dinner and clean the house, and she can help me with the laundry, like, I'm all for it. But yeah, I never saw anything like that. And I was very pleased with the outcome and how everybody conducted themselves. So
Yep. And
yeah.
then our conversations about her being in the women's meetings and everything, and just like actually, you get m- more personal, right? But just being able to actually hear what families have gone through, you know, to get to that point, and the struggles, the highs and the lows,
Mhm.
and it being like just real, very, very real,
Yeah.
very, very personal, to understand that it's like, obviously this is difficult, but here are the difficulties and here are the rewards. And that's one of the things too. I think it helped a lot for her to see it in person. It's one thing theoretically, it's one
Right.
thing to show it in the word, it's one thing to even show polygynous families, like when we watch Shabbat service and with
Mhm.
with Pastor Dow, she knows who pastors' wives are, and she know that there are other people in Straightway who have polygynous families, but it's a different dynamic to be in person and be around functional families, like high functioning families, happy families, prosperous families. Like, it's totally different. So it was,
And it's easy to be emotionally divorced from it when it's on the other side of the screen,
yeah,
or when it's, someone that you hear about and you sort of know them. It's a whole different cup of tea when you're sitting at the table and having that conversation, or
yes, it
when you're
is.
hearing them speak firsthand about their challenges and you can ask direct questions, or just
Yes,
sitting around, at BibFam, sitting around at the table, at meals in between or whatever, and just being able to converse and ask questions and watch the interactions as well. It's not contrived, but you can watch, and yeah,
and see how
totally
they
agree.
relate to one another. Yeah, and then and I think too, after she saw that in real life, my hope for her is to be able to have real true sisters, like not
Mm.
just simply in the context of a polygynous family, but sisters in the faith,
Yeah.
because it makes a difference to have brothers in the faith.
Mm.
Like, there are times when
Yeah.
you get a word from a brother that is right on. You needed that. Y'all know what you need. They would have the same goal, whatever the goal
Yes, because
set forth.
in the world, women particularly are indoctrinated with this idea that they have to mark the corners of the house, and they have to protect the territory, and they have to mistrust every other woman who ever comes around. And so I don't think in that you can truly have a trusting relationship with another woman that goes to the depth that it could for very bonding and emotional creatures that a woman is. I don't think you can have that outside of, or it's so much more significant when it's inside of a family relationship, where you've both got the same head, you've got the same goals, you've got the same direction, and so you really get to share life together in a way that can't happen outside of that structure.
I mean, even just from some of the testimonies at the retreat, you get to see people having a level of fulfillment, and I'm specifically talking about the women, because of their dynamic together and what they're able to accomplish together, and what Yah gives unto this person and to that person. They have so much that they can't possibly get somewhere else, like in that family. And
Hmm.
and that was powerful to me, and for both of us, seeing
Yeah.
some of those things, like with like brother Amalang's family. Just it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see how the family
Hmm.
operates, and how Yah works on the hearts of the individuals that are in the family and all the things. It's a lot that goes into it, but Yah
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
And I was so excited that there was I think one of the biggest things was to me was to I thought that there was a lot of jealousy with the women in these polygynous families. So when I actually saw that everyone was like friends and like this, I was like, wow, that's awesome that they can all come together and serve their husband and be friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And certainly you mentioned probably one of our heroes. That family's just an amazing family and have been together doing ministry for 20, 30 years. 30 years. And so from that side, they really are tuned to the Father and very much on the same page, pointed in the same direction. And he uses that. Has used that in an amazing way with them and in their lives. All right, guys. Absolutely enjoyed hanging out with you this evening. Can't wait to spend more time with you. I know that that both some of this will be on Patreon and some of it'll be on YouTube, or all of it'll be on Patreon. Some of it'll be on YouTube. But I'm looking forward to being able to share you guys with everybody else that I know and let them meet you. But good stuff.
Thank you.
And I still want to get together with you, Dexter, to try to change out the intro music for this, because they won't monetize, or they won't let me control all of the content, because the music, I recorded it at a street event, but apparently
it still gets recognized.
Yep. And it's funny, my son is the one playing the drums during the recording, because I actually recorded this while my son was playing street drums.
In Israel.
I'll have to send you that clip. I don't know if you've ever seen that the clip of my son playing the drums in the street there at a Simchat Torah event. It was fascinating. We had a lot of fun.
Hallelujah. I'm probably gonna have a co-producer on it that I'm looking at right now. KJ want to be a part of it. As soon as he heard it the first time, and the whole time while we've been doing this, every time you bring it up, he like.
All right, KJ. Is he going to make a guest appearance, a quick cameo here?
That's up to his mom.
Come on.
How old is he?
10, 9 or 10? Has he turned
12.
10 yet?
Oh my gosh.
12.
Yes, 12. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good.
It is good to see you again. You've been sitting back there listening to this whole thing?
Yeah.
Well, if I'd have known that, we could have pulled you around the camera sooner. I didn't know that. Yes, you absolutely can help co-produce.
Yay.
Would love to have that.
Yeah, he loved producing.
Yeah, you can lean on him a little bit, and we can make this happen, because I've had to ask more than once.
All right. I feel okay.
I love you guys. We're gonna let you go, but absolutely, for King and Kingdom, shalom.
Shalom. Bless you.